What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into the DLF YouTube channel. I am your host, Justin Wright, and today we are breaking down 3 rookies that you should be trading for ahead of the 2022 season. And, if somehow you have not had a rookie draft yet, 3 guys you should be drafting. Again, 3 guys I want on all of my Dynasty teams. So, with that being said, let's just dive in. Number 1 on the list is Rachaad White. Rachaad White's an interesting one, right? Heading into the draft, people were mixed on him. He came in obviously as an older prospect at 23 years old. People had him anywhere from RB4 up to, RB10. He should have never been at RB10, but he landed there for some. Now, post-draft, he finished as the RB3 for me in this class, and a guy I was happy taking at the back of the first round, in April. I still feel the same way, but he seems to be slipping in drafts as, James Cook hype has emerged. People are getting back in on Isaiah Spiller because of what value he may have this season, right? So Rachaad White is starting to slip, as is his value, and I don't think it should. He is still, I think, the 3rd most dynamic, explosive running back in this class. Obviously, he's not Breece Hall, and he's not Kenneth Walker. We know that. But in terms of value this season and beyond, Rachaad White immediately slots in as one of the elite handcuffs in fantasy football. He's a guy you can draft, I think, with Alexander Mattison and expect RB1 numbers, should the starter go down, right? He's not going to knock out Leonard Fournette this season. I don't think that's going to happen. But, again, an injury takes place. Rachaad White's value skyrockets. He's an elite handcuff. He's a superstar pass catcher. And just to kind of highlight that even, during his time in college and in 2021, he had the 5th highest yards per route run of all time. Of all time. That is per Alex Caruso, so great stat from him. He's in the company with CMC, Mixon, ETN, and then Curtis Samuel. But he's in rare air. He is a better pass catcher than Leonard Fournette. So there is also a chance he takes work away from Fournette in that, regard this season. And when you're looking into the future, a Tom Brady-less Tampa Bay Buccaneers next season, it's going to be a very different thing. They're going to have to get more creative with the offense, and Rachaad White is going to allow them to do that. So the question begs, what do I want to trade for Rachaad White this season? And, it could be a number of things. A guy I mentioned, James Cook. If I could flip James Cook for Rachaad White, I'm going to do that. No, that's not a trade I've had to make because I don't have a ton of James Cook anywhere. But, if you're looking at other guys, if you can give up a 2023 second, I'm happy to do that for Rachaad White, a second and a third. I think that's a perfectly fine trade. Again, you're getting the player this season. The landing spot. The talent. Sometimes that's a little bit better than an unknown pick or 2, right? Thirds or whatever. I don't care if you burn them and never use them. It doesn't matter. So I think that's fine. And then one I think would be creative and maybe you push it to a win now team. Trade Tony Pollard in a 3rd and go get Rachaad White. People love Tony Pollard. And Tony Pollard's probably going to have a very good season, as a 1B or really the RB2 in Dallas. And, sell people on the hype there. Rachaad White's going to probably have a very similar role and may even outproduce, should Leonard Fournette go down. I'm happy to get off the Tony Pollard train. Cash in now because he's a guy that's probably not going to get a starting job, anytime soon. So why not take the younger prospect in Rachaad White? I think that makes a lot of sense. Jumping to number 2 here, we have Jalen Tolbert. And Jalen Tolbert is a guy, pre-draft, I liked a lot. And Jalen Tolbert gets a cushy landing spot with day 2 draft capital. Now, if you're not familiar, he's out of South Alabama. He's 6'1", 195. He's kind of tall, pretty skinny. But the guy can play outside, and he has talent. And guess what? They're probably going to move him around the formation because he's dynamic as well. So when you're looking at Jalen Tolbert, a guy that's going to get the immediate crack at the wide receiver 2 spot in Dallas, his ADP in rookie drafts doesn't make a whole lot of sense. He's going at the back half, if not the last pick in the 2nd round right now, and he has potential and draft capital to do a lot of damage in the Dallas offense. And now if you're saying, but Justin, Michael Gallup's the wide receiver 2. Michael Gallup isn't going to be back most likely until early, if not mid-November. So you're going to get 8 to 10 games of Jalen Tolbert early and have a chance to see what he can do in a featured role or a pseudo-featured role in this Dallas offense. If you buy now on Tolbert and you don't, risk having people fall in love watching him play, I think this is probably the cheapest you're going to get him. And even as we get into July and August here, when more people realize, Michael Gallup's actual injury timeline just based on surgery and everything else, it's even less likely you're going to be able to get him cheap, right? So during my rookie draft in May, I went and traded a 2023 second for Jalen Tolbert straight up, for the opportunity to draft him. I would still do that today. I have no regrets about that. If you're looking at other moves you could make, I've seen Rondale Moore and a third-round pick for Jalen Tolbert. That's easy. That's an easy trade. I've seen Wan'Dale Robinson and a third traded for Jalen Tolbert. I'm going to do that as well. I don't really have any issues. I'm not a short king kind of wide receiver guy. I don't think many people should be for obvious reasons. So there's ways you can go here. And then, like I said, the 2023 second, people may not like it. I'm comfortable giving that up as long as it's the expectation that it's not like, 201 or 202. That's a different story. Again, Jalen Tolbert. He's a talented player with immediate opportunity, and he has the draft capital to warrant getting opportunity early. I don't think James Washington's going to push him too hard for that wide receiver 2 spot from week 1 in Dallas. All right, moving on to number 3 here. We have David Bell. David Bell's an interesting one because pre-draft, out of Purdue, people were in love with him. Then the combine hits, and David Bell follows up a great season with one of the worst combine performances I've seen in quite some time. A 15th percentile 40 time, a 35th percentile speed score, 19th percentile burst score. His combine kind of craters him all the way down to, day 2, 3rd round. And now you were looking at a guy that is positioned well, not this season, but for next season, right? Again, the expectation is Deshaun Watson doesn't play a ton this year. So you have Jacoby Brissett throwing to a very talented David Bell, which means he's probably not going to produce a ton because Jacoby Brissett's pretty terrible. So value's going to be depressed. People are less excited about him now that he's not tied to an elite quarterback this year. Trading for David Bell is all about 2023. You're not trading for him for 2022, like I just said. It's with the expectation that Watson gets, a year's suspension and is back in 2023. If that happens, you're looking at the clear-cut number 2 in this offense, and he really could push for that overall, wide receiver 1 target share because his competition's Amari Cooper, and the last time Amari Cooper commanded a 25% target share was never. It just doesn't happen, right? Amari Cooper is a 20 to 22% kind of target share guy. That's fine. Amari Cooper is very good. We all know that. But that means there is room for someone to potentially supplant him and go and get a 24, 25% target share. Is that a guarantee with David Bell? Of course not. If it was, he's not a 3rd-round draft pick in the NFL. But it's not off the table, and that's the upside that is extremely enticing, right? We've seen what the wide receiver 1 does in Deshaun Watson-led offenses. They are fantasy superstars. This is a chance to buy a piece of this offense, a potential wide receiver 1 there for a significantly reduced price, right? David Bell is going around Rachaad White, if not a little bit after, as a mid-2nd round pick. So obviously, if I'm trading the 2023 second for Jalen Tolbert, who's going later, I'm doing the same thing for David Bell. A second and a third, I'm fine to go and buy him right now with the expectation of, building hype in 2023. On top of that, I've seen Kadarius Toney flip for David Bell straight up. I've seen Rondale Moore flip for David Bell straight up. All of those I'm very comfortable with. I really don't have any hesitations. All right, guys, that is all I have for you. Again, thank you for checking out the DLF YouTube channel. If you like what we're doing here, subscribe to the channel. Questions, comments, drop it all below. As always, guys, thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.